Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washut. Over the next hour, we will get you ready for Saturday's Nebraska-Rutgers game. Gentlemen, it's going to be a hot one.
97 is what I've heard.
Mid-90s.
That sun is brutal.
I see clouds on the horizon.
It's going to be, like stadium medical work. It'll be a big, busy day for them.
Yeah, it will.
Very hydrated, friends.
We're in October, guys. All right, enough weather talk. You can do
Super
that.
Saver aisle talk
When
here.
you're in line at Super Saver, you can do that. Yeah, it's going to be hot.
Did you have a nice summer?
It still feels like summer.
Did you and your wife get to go on a nice trip this summer to get
Don't
away?
need to go to the Caribbean.
How's your lawn holding up?
It's like the Caribbean here.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Enough indoor personalities, and let's get into it. But before we get into the opening headlines, Husker Online Show brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Your home, our care. Get accessible and personalized in-person care in the comfort of your home, whether it's helping with daily tasks like cleaning, laundry, and meal preparation, providing companionship, offering medication reminders, or assisting with personal care and errands. We're here to make life easier. Serving Lincoln, Omaha, and all of Nebraska, StayHome.Care is proud to announce that it has received the prestigious Top Home Healthcare Service Award for the second year in a row, reaffirming its commitment to provider unparalleled care and support to individuals in the comfort of their own homes. Head to StayHome.Care to learn more. That's .care, not .com. Again, learn more at StayHome.Care or call 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart into everything we do. Your home, our care, StayHome.Care. Thank you for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. But guys, we were talking off air. This is such a big game, and they're all big. We get it. This is Nebraska. Every game is big. But when you look at just the context of where the year is, Nebraska's 4-1 with a bye week, and you head out to Indiana after the bye, and they're probably going to be undefeated. That could be even a big noon kickoff game. So to get this win and have the opportunity to be 5-1 with Indiana and Ohio State as back-to-back road games, it just sets up right now.
Well, yeah, it sets up, and you're exactly right. And what I always say about Nebraska, every game is big if you lose. But I think this is an example of a game that if you win, it feels pretty big. Rutgers is good. Rutgers is a good team. You'll have earned a win. But yeah, just the way the schedule sets up, and come on, you got to hold serve at home. And Nebraska hasn't done a good job of that in recent years at all, really. Start holding serve at home, and you're a 7-point favorite. Is that what it is?
7, yeah.
Yeah, win the games you're expected to win, especially on your home field. It's big for the growth of the program. It's not do or die in any way. But look, we're looking for growth. I mean, that's what you're looking for, growth. You're looking for tangible evidence of growth, and this would be tangible evidence.
Yeah, and just the opportunity that this game presents to be 5-1 going into your bye week with some serious momentum going into that week off, where all of a sudden you get a chance to take a step back, get healthier, and prepare yourself for what is now a gauntlet of games with that at Indiana, at Ohio State, and then a couple weeks down the road at USC. I mean, your opportunities to be a 7-point favorite are getting fewer and far between as the schedule moves into the second half. And so just the opportunity to have some tangible momentum and really be rolling going into your bye week, just from a morale standpoint, would be absolutely huge. But if you lose that game and all of a sudden you've lost 2 straight home games going into a road heavy back half of your schedule, that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum there.
And think about this. I mean, we've got a week of positivity right now. They win on the road at Purdue. You win this game, you get 2 more weeks. That's 3 straight weeks of just sunshine and rainbows.
Momentum.
I mean, we felt it after the Illinois, and you could feel it even in the players and Coach Rule after losing the Illinois game. I mean, just the questions that loss brought on, they didn't like it.
No,
nobody liked it, but it just
it's kind of odd, isn't it?
I mean, as Jay Norvell always said, we knew it wouldn't be all wine and roses here.
Well, it's kind of odd in a way. Nebraska's 4-1 with a loss in overtime
to a good Illinois team,
right? And sometimes it feels a little ridiculous how much
we
pressure
analyze things.
Yeah, 4-1 with a loss in overtime to a ranked team. Well, it was a ranked team. Illinois not ranked now, right?
No, they stayed in.
Oh, they stayed in.
Yeah.
I mean, they played Penn State tough.
They did right to the end of the game. So, but Rob nailed it. The key word I'll just keep blurting out through the next 45 minutes to an hour is momentum. Every so often, I'm just going to say the word momentum.
Just out of nowhere, middle of an ad read.
If you forget your thing, just say momentum.
Momentum. It is. It's a moment. It's what it is. This is a momentum game. That's what it is. There's some momentum. They picked up some in the last quarter and a half at Purdue.
And this is momentum is something that has not been on Nebraska's side for a long, long time. And we've seen so many examples over the years of other teams that just get hot. You know, they don't necessarily look great, but they win and they win ugly. But guess what? They start piling that confidence, piling that momentum. And all of a sudden you're going into these games, these big games against Indiana and Ohio State and USC, feeling differently about yourself, not about your public perception, but internally. You're playing with a different level of confidence if you win these types of games like they have on Saturday.
And, you know, something lost in the discussion, it's been so long since Nebraska's kind of been in the discussion where, you know, you're thinking about Nebraska being ranked. Well, the game that we saw Saturday at Purdue, that's a lot of college football everywhere where there's going to be swings of emotion, moments of ups and downs, and you can't freak out.
Right.
I mean,
there was some freaking out at halftime.
I honestly don't really like to tweet during the game.
You don't?
You just get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, a little bit. I did. I
remember I learned my lesson in Iowa. Bo's last game, they were down and they had a pump block. It looked like they were going to get blown out in Iowa City, and Bo was going to get fired. And I said, this is what we had seen all year. This team kind of loses composure when adversity hits and they're falling apart. Well, they came back and win, and Ben Cotton just went after me
really on
Twitter. And I mean, I don't think it like when I'd seen him again down the road, he was real short with me. And it's like people remember, if you go all in, you better be right.
It's rugged out there.
You better, you better not just go on Twitter.
It's a rough old world, Sean.
No, I know.
But yeah, Twitter. I think most people have sort of adopted or have adjusted to the notion that Twitter's wild. It's a wild swing of emotions.
Yeah. It's immediate reactions.
Yeah, back in 2014, I don't know if people were as keen to it as they are now. Now they understand it's just Twitter. It's crazy. It can change. Moods can change in a half hour. So I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it, Sean.
No, I just like things like that make you like when you overreact and just put you go all in on a take in the moment of a game.
I'm telling you though, in the last 10 years, it's changed. People are much more, I think, forgiving, and they're more apt to roll their eyes. Oh yeah, great job. Great job on that take. Look how quickly it changed. But anyway, no, college football is just, it's all about that. It's all about wild mood swings. And what I would say to people about Nebraska is Nebraska's not the only team out there missing field goals. Nebraska's not the only team out there that does some things that aren't perfect. You see it all over the place on Saturdays. But it feels like Nebraska's almost held to a higher standard for some reason. I guess because of what it did in the 90s.
Those people are all 50, 60, 70 years old now, though.
Right.
Older. I mean, it's not, the younger generation has no clue about that stuff.
Right.
I think the difference, though, is that as rough as that first half was and all the hot takes that are being fired off, the fact that Nebraska figured it out, we talked about this after the game, was that showed progress. The fact that they were able to just win, find ways to get it done, despite all the adversity where previous teams probably would have crumbled under that and said, oh no, here we go again, poor us, and they lose the game. Nebraska figured it out. And all the comments, maybe this is just after the fact spin, but all the comments from the coaches and players said that they never even wavered with their confidence at halftime. And like their whole approach, regardless of the score, is that it's 0-0 at halftime. And so maybe this is a sign of growth that as bad and, dangerous and awful that things looked in that first half, they found a way to win, and they won by 18 points on the road.
All right, when we come back, we're going to delve into the offensive headlines as Nebraska gets ready for Rutgers. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Wash at Husker Online Show, brought to you by Ellerbrock-Norris. They've been helping Nebraska business owners protect their purpose for over 120 years with risk management solutions built for local businesses. Ellerbrock-Norris partners with you on commercial insurance, group benefits, business exit planning, safety, and more. Start thinking long-term with your business and create a risk management strategy to protect it. Are your employee benefit costs going through the roof? Talk to Ellerbrock. Workplace injury skyrocketing your workers' compensation costs? Talk to Ellerbrock. Hoping to retire in the next 10 years and sell the business to family, key employees, or even a friendly competitor? Talk to Ellerbrock. Ellerbrock-Norris is helping you protect your purpose, whether it's your business and the employees in it, your life outside of work, or your future retirement goals. Head to Ellerbrock-Norris.com/HuskerOnline today to get your free risk evaluation. Thanks to Ellerbrock-Norris for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online show. Okay, let's get into the offensive storylines. That was a strange game last week in a lot of respects with the number of penalties. Nebraska got 8 first downs by penalty, which was a school record. The previous record, according to the Nebraska record book, was 6.
Wow. It was a strange game. Nebraska's got an interesting offense to me. They don't have to, we always kind of worry about, can they line up and just run a basic running game, a running back running game, just base stuff. Well, they haven't very well, but I don't worry about it quite as much because they're so effective in the passing game. And then they run those jet sweeps pretty well, or really well so far. Now teams are going to start scheming them. So they're kind of hard to scheme. I mean, it's a pretty diverse attack. If you were a defensive coordinator, which I always try to do is put myself in the shoes of a coordinator, Nebraska would be hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that starts with the quarterback and
100.
his ability to utilize all of those weapons. I thought it was really interesting. I think it was Thomas Fedoni, talking after practice on Tuesday. Was what really impressed him about Dylan wasn't just his arm strength and talent, but his ability to go through progressions and go to the check down, and not just like kind of go down, count down to your check down, but go through your progressions, go back, and then look for your check down maybe on your 5th or 6th read. Like he has that poise and comfort in the pocket to not panic. And so part of that's the offensive line giving him time, but he's just made up right between the ears. And very few quarterbacks, especially at 18 years old, can do that. And so when you have a guy like that running the offense on each play, you can have as much weapons as you want on the perimeter, but if you don't have a guy that can distribute, it doesn't work. And his ability to distribute is what makes this offense what it has been.
Well, and the other thing, the offensive line, just the way they've been able to piecemeal that together. 3 of the top 7 linemen that they started the year with are not on the field right now.
Yep.
Teddy Prohaska, Turner Corcoran, Micah Mazuka, for all different various reasons. And, to have Henry Latosky step in and then Gunnar Gatula, has been what you'd want for a guy stepping in that situation. That has been a story too, because without that protection up front, a lot of these things aren't happening for Nebraska. So those guys have done a really good job too. Look, the Mazuka situation is hard to get your finger on. Nobody really knows where that's going to head next. But Matt Rule, he kind of took a shot at us. He said, "You guys keep hyping him up. The guy's a backup." Mm-hmm. He wanted to make sure we knew that.
Yeah, he wasn't a back. He was a starter.
He was the most experienced guard on the roster.
He looked pretty good for a backup.
Yeah, he was a starter the first 2 games. It's just disciplinary. Now he's still on the team. We should make it clear that he's still on the team. He's I don't know how did Rule put it on Monday that he was reinstated.
Yes, he was suspended for Purdue and reinstated.
Yeah, so he's reinstated. He's on the team. He's just second team behind Lutovsky. It's just the protection has been good. The run blocking hasn't been great. You got to say that, Sean. The protection has been good. The run blocking hasn't been great. But again, it goes back to Dylan, and what coaches always say about players is certain players are just hooked up right. You kind of said that about Dylan between the ears. He's just hooked up really well. He's wired up really well. And he you know what? It's odd. It's a very odd conversation to me. He smooths out a lot of rough edges. Yeah. You would think that Dylan, it would have to be someone smoothing his rough edges. Now, Dylan, the true freshman, smooths a lot of rough edges on this offense.
Yeah, when it's 2nd and 26 after some bonehead penalties or phantom penalties, he's the one that completes the 27-yard pass to keep the drive back on schedule. So again, that's what I'm talking about. Like his his play is what has made Nebraska's offense successful, just because of the inconsistency in the running game and, just kind of the varying production you've seen from player to player.
Was it the Nayor or Banks throw? Who did he hit on like the really long 2nd and 20-ish?
One of those guys.
But
yeah,
just
I think it was Nayor.
The way he found that guy to sitting in the zone.
Yep.
And to come back to it. That wasn't like a fast read. That was look around, come back, hit.
And then he makes it look easy.
And if you're opposing D coordinator, you just throw your hands up at that point. Yeah. And he's had moments like that all year where you can't scheme him because he'll throw through the scheme.
Yeah, he's really interesting. He doesn't seem to get nervous at all. In fact, today, Satterfield said he was even first road game, is Dylan's first road game. I don't even think as a collective group, we even thought about it, that he's going on the road for the first time. We've almost started to take him for granted 5 games into his college career. He's that way though. I always said it to you guys in August. I don't worry about Dylan Raiola. That was the least of my concerns. And he's proven that to be, that's kind of the case. So yeah, he's hooked up right. The other thing we got to mention is Ja'Cory Barney. I think they just got to continue to escalate his presence in the offense.
And you've seen it every week. He's getting more and more involved and
continue it.
Varying ways.
Keep the steps going because he's a big play. He's a big play waiting to happen all the time. Now those defenses will start scheming up that jet sweep more. So it'll be interesting to see how Nebraska counters.
It happens so quickly too, though, when they motion him. Like you have to be on your heels.
Screws, yeah. On your screws.
On your screws.
Yeah, you don't want to be on your heels. Sean.
But you've got to be
get you in trouble.
Like when in Nebraska, if they're smart, they'll show the motion and do something different.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you have to wrinkle it.
Yep. Wrinkle it, exactly. They're going to have to do some countering in that regard, but they will.
So that Ja'Cory Barney, the O-line, the receivers. I mean, there's a lot here to watch. I think for Nebraska, the red zone efficiency this week will be something else, Robin. Look at Washington, 500 and some yards, and I think they were 1 of 5 on trips in the red zone.
Yeah, and that's what Rutgers does. They're kind of the one of those between the 20s defense where they'll give you the yards, but you're not going to score. And when they buckle down when it comes in the red zone, and that's what's hurt Nebraska more than anything last week. That game should have been well and done by the second quarter. If
17-0.
Yeah, at least. If they would have executed on one of their first, 7 possessions inside Purdue's 40-yard line, like that's got to be the onus this week. Like red zone offense and execution. And when you're 3rd and 1 in the red zone, don't jump off sides. Like no more false starts from your senior right tackle or, plays that suddenly change the dynamic of whether you can go for it on a 4th and short, or you're going to face a 4th and 7, and then you have to punt from your own or from the opponent's 41-yard line. Those are the types of things that I think are hurting Nebraska as much as just running the plays. They're shooting themselves in the foot too much with mental mistakes. So when things get tight, especially against a team that is as good at defending the red zone as Rutgers is, you have to execute at an extremely high level. So that has to be, I think, the onus for this offense all week.
And Sip, the block kick element, it was an issue, as we know, with the snaps.
Yeah.
Greg Schiano has a history. They've blocked 71 kicks in his 15-year coaching career at Rutgers. They've scored 63 non-offensive touchdowns. So you better believe anytime Nebraska lines up with these snappers, I mean, it's all hands on deck. Rutgers is going to bring the ultimate block looks at everything Nebraska does, and they should.
Yeah, they should. Now, the good news is you don't have to worry about returns as much, right? You see what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that? I don't see what you're saying.
They block the kick. There's no return.
Right. No, that is a huge part of the game. I think you said something really interesting. You just said it in passing. You almost expect a blocked kick on Saturday. God, that's sad. I mean, I hope you're wrong on that, but it makes perfect
instead
sense.
Of a return guy or have a gunner behind Buschini just in case, like
to catch the ball,
like on a victory formation when you have the far safety back guy, have a back guy.
But what you said is, you almost expect a block kick. Yeah, I hope to God you're wrong. I mean, it shouldn't be that way.
They've got to get it figured out, though.
I mean, this is a game where that'll lose you the game.
Absolutely.
In 25 years of covering Nebraska, I've never talked about long snappers like I have this year.
Well, no, because we haven't had to.
We don't have to. I mean, it's just, you shouldn't. I mean,
I almost feel kind of bad about it for those kids' sake. But like Rule
He
talked
said it
about it.
himself.
Yeah, Rule talked about it openly. He said, you have to perform in the game like you do in practice. Apparently, it's not a big issue in practice. So just take it to the game, and hopefully those kids don't overthink it. Just do what you
It's
do.
like free throw shooting in practice versus a game. A lot of guys make them in practice.
100.
You get in the game, you buckle up.
It's different.
It's harder.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's way different. Yeah, I think that's it's a good comparison.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk defensive storylines heading out in this game against Rutgers. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, Robin Washett. The segment of the show brought to you by CHI Health and their pediatric place at St. Elizabeth's here in Lincoln. And look, both Robin and I are dads. We know how it is. If your kid gets hurt and you have to go to the emergency room, it may not always be a very pleasant experience. Accidents don't always happen at 8 a.m. either, and you might have to go to the ER. Well, CHI Health in St. Elizabeth's offers Lincoln's only ER for kids at Pediatric Place. It's located on the west side of CHI Health St. Elizabeth's next to the ER. It's open 24/7 for pediatric emergency care. It offers child-friendly rooms and a private waiting area to help put kids at ease. Expert staffs that specialize in pediatric and emergency care. To learn more about Lincoln's only ER for kids, visit chihealth.com/pediatric place. And guys, I do want to also make this announcement on air. Next week on Thursday, we're taking the show back out on the road again. Husker Online live mid-season report. We're going to be at the Zipline restaurant in Fallbrook. Live show, no charge to attend. 6 p.m. Abby will be at volleyball, so it'll be me, Sip, and Robin. And they have seating and accommodations that can handle well over 250 people. So there's not going to be a space issue. There's not going to be a beer issue, though. They're going to be ready. I think the first show we did, they were all overwhelmed when 200 to 300 folks showed up to the beer hall in South Lincoln. They're ready to go. They're going to have some food specials, drink specials. Sip's going to give Harley rides again.
I will. Free Harley rides.
And you might even do some wheelies in the parking lot.
I know. You can't pull that thing up.
Can you do a wheelie?
Not on a Harley, for God's sake.
You do some burnouts at least.
You can do some burnouts. There are dudes. I've heard dudes talk about doing wheelies on a Harley, but it's not like a dirt bike, Sean. I'm not Evel Knievel.
I'm not riding the Harley. I'm just telling you that right now. Even if
I don't want you on the back of my Harley under any circumstances. All right.
Okay.
Sean.
Let's get into but Zipline. It's gonna be fun. And our thought on these live shows
incredibly awkward.
We're gonna do like 3 or 4 a year. Like we're gonna do a preseason one, a mid-season one, an end of the year one, and then maybe a spring show.
Mid-season review is what we're doing.
And they're gonna have tacos on special.
Boy.
Beer, canned beer, tap beer. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. But Kyle Monagai, Rutgers running back, 25 carries a game. I want to start the discussion with him because this is going to be a unique test because everybody in the stadium knows what Rutgers is going to do on early downs and short yardage downs. The question is, can this Blackshirt defense stop Kyle Monagai?
Oh, it's huge. You heard Tony White talking about it on Tuesday. Tony White, the Nebraska defensive coordinator, keeps his feet moving, has great balance. And then he talked about how Rutgers pushes the pile really well. It's just all things that, if you think about it too much, could become very uncomfortable. You don't want to see that you do not want to see on your home field Rutgers doing that stuff. Him bleeding through tackles and getting 6 when it should have been 2. Rutgers linemen pushing the pile and pushing it forward 4 yards. We've seen it. You don't want to see that on your home field. God, I hope Nebraska, the defense, they watch this film and say, we're not letting this happen.
Who was that Minnesota back a couple years ago that he kind of was that
Ibrahim.
way?
Yeah, Muhammad Ibrahim.
Yeah, Muhammad Ibrahim. Nebraska bottled him up in the first half. It was fine. And then the second half, they couldn't corral
Then he starts getting going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tony White struggled to think of a comparison, but one that jumps out to me is another former Rutgers running back, Isaiah Pacheco, and the fact that he just runs violent. Like you hit him, and then all of a sudden he's pushing you back 4 or 5 yards to turn a short game into a magic. And that's how they stay on schedule. And that's how Ethan Kaliak-Manis, their quarterback, operates. They talk about how good their pass protection has been. It's because they're 2nd and 3
Yeah.
3rd and 2.
Yeah, they're
Like
not
the
in third
defenses
long
can't
very
tee off on them with a pass rush. And so that early down running game is such a critical aspect of their offense. The reason it's so effective is because they have a back with the physicality and the ability to get the yards after contact that Kyle Monaghan guy does. So, I mean, this is a deal where you have to be able to tackle on first contact, but also gang tackling.
Gang.
The entire defense needs to fly to the football because one guy getting him down is going to be very difficult. They need to tackle in swarms.
This will be for Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher, Jamori Butler, John Bullock, that front 7 group. It's
Bayer. All of them. We have all the front 7.
Now, will we get Tommy Hill back? And, if he is back, how do you manage that Ceyair Wright situation? Can you start both those guys?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how you do that. I want to go back to Rutgers offense, though. Okay, the good news is, and we do this every week. We make these teams sound like Alabama when they're not. Rutgers does run it well. I mean, they're 8th nationally in rushing, I believe. They're top 10 team nationally in rushing. But you know what? There's 2 things, though. They're very simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to prepare for much. It's a very simple scheme. The second thing is they don't throw the ball well. They don't have receivers that are going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like Pat Bryant of Illinois. I mean, I don't want to talk about Pat Bryant like he's Randy Moss, but he's, they're good. And they had another guy that was good. His name's escaping me.
Yeah.
They don't have, Rutgers isn't going to come here with that.
So the good news again for Nebraska, just talking about scheme, is that Rutgers is going to do a little bit what you and I did, and a lot of what Illinois did, and a lot of what Purdue did, especially at the beginning of that second half. So they've seen this style for going on 4 straight weeks. So that part of it isn't going to catch them off guard. Where you go back to UNI, Illinois, they went from like 5 wide, not even trying to run the football offenses, to a power Big Ten style attack. So that familiarity and being able to translate a lot of their game plan and work on the things that didn't go right in those first few games against especially UNI and Illinois, I think will be a benefit to Nebraska because they have seen it and they know exactly what they need to do better to stop that.
Right. I think they can load up the box is what I'm getting at. Nebraska. Callie McManus doesn't throw
it better or against them well against Minnesota with better wide receivers.
Yeah, he
last
doesn't
year
throw it well downfield.
I mean, he'll throw about 2 balls a game that are 20 yards or more down the field.
Right. They just don't do it. I mean, so you should be able to load up the box a little bit, right?
And look, you look at if Tommy Hill's back and Ceyair Wright. I mean, these are bona fide high level corners. I mean,
what do you do there, by the way? What do you do?
Well, I think
playing them both.
The message board guy would like this. They would like Tommy Hill and Ceyair Wright to start at corner. They would like Marquise Buford to take Malcolm Hartzog's spot.
Okay, and Rover.
And then and Hartzog would come off the bench. Now, I don't know if that's the direction they would go, but the data, the numbers that Robin breaks down on the defensive breakdown would suggest that would make sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Hartzog's been their lowest graded defensive back, and he's also, I think, leading them in interceptions. So that's kind of a 2-way street there. But
they go at him a lot.
Yeah, they do. He gets targeted quite a bit. And what was weird is he was matched up against Purdue's tight end last
Max
week,
Clare,
who is by far their only legitimate receiving threat.
Well, here's my question to you guys: is that, and this is what I thought in the press box. I probably should have asked Tony White today. Do you match Malcolm against that player because you feel good about Malcolm? I mean, Malcolm, you're going to have their best guy. Well, that tells you they must feel pretty good about him, or is that just the way it worked out?
It's a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, your smallest defensive back against a potential NFL level tight end.
So why would you have him on?
Yeah, I know.
And why would you
criticize
Malcolm Hartzog?
Was that a breakdown?
Right. I don't know, but I don't really criticize Malcolm for being undersized and matched up in that situation. That's more of a, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I think it might be they felt good about it.
The thing about this whole conversation, though, is it's all dependent on Tommy Hill's pain threshold. Right. And, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they sit him another game.
And then he has the bye week.
Then he has the bye week, and then all of a sudden he's as healthy as possible against much more significant passing attacks in Indiana, Ohio State, USC.
Guys,
he's got to be healthy for that.
Ceyair Wright has more breakups, 3, than the entire starting group of the secondary does combined.
He's good. I
He's
mean,
a gamer.
You can see it. It's not hard to see. He does pretty well in run support too. He's not that big, but he throws himself in there pretty well. Now he got
dinged up a little bit.
He's seen what the Big Ten's all about, but he seems to like it. They say he loves the game, super smart, and there he is, and he has talent. So yeah, I'd watch Tommy Hill pretty closely in warmups, and then there'd be a decision to make if he's ready to go.
He put his acting career on hold. He said, I thought that I asked him that today.
Mhm.
I just said, are you still? And he's like, no, because at USC, he was kind of doing both. And that was an issue, I think, with Lincoln Riley at points where it just didn't work to do the acting and the football both.
Well, Tony White says he's one of those guys who loves football.
He's got a laid back swag.
He's got a laid back swag, but
a great personality, though.
He brings it. He brings it when it's time, in practice and games. That's good. That's a great quality.
All right. When we come back, Abby Barmore will join the show. We'll take your questions in the mailbag. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. And we're back here on the Husker Online Show. Once again, Husker Online Show. Our title sponsor is StayHome.Care. Your home, our care. They're there to help you with any loved one in your life. Whether it can just be simple things like grocery shopping, daily tasks people might need done that you don't always necessarily have the time to be there for those people that are important in your life. That's StayHome.Care. Check them out or call at 402-205-2233. Thanks to StayHome.Care. We're also brought to you by Tanner's Sports Bar and Grill, 30th and Yankee Hill Road. There is no better place to watch the action. Major League Baseball playoffs, Nebraska volleyball, college football, NFL Sunday.
Ooh.
There could be 4 things on at one time.
Yeah.
And look, some people have extravagant TV setups. Tanner's has that. They have top of the line TV setups in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch all the things you want to watch and get legendary wings and food and burgers and sandwiches. Tons of great beer on tap. I am, Robin, a fan of the char-buffed wings.
The char-buffed wings, huh?
They got a Reuben sandwich there, too.
Yeah, you try that Reuben. You tried that in Chicago the other
day. It wasn't as good. We ate it at an O'Hare Airport hotel.
It's like the Greyhound. It's like eating at a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, it was rough. Hey, it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah.
It was
rough duty.
It was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it was.
But let's get into the mailbag, Abby. Where are we going?
Okay, first one. When Tommy Hill comes back, is there a chance Ceyair Wright goes to the other side at corner and Marquise Buford moves back to safety?
I think it's possible. I mean, it's a matter of, I'm sure that's a head coach decision as much as a Tony White decision. I think Matt Rule will probably be obviously involved in that kind of decision.
It's tough, though, because you're talking about a guy who's a single-digit recipient, Blackshirt, and Malcolm Hartzog, who we all would assume would be the guy Buford would replace at one of those safety spots. So, I mean, there's, I guess, layers to it. It's not just as easy as plug and play because that, Hartzog earned all those accolades and all those titles.
Yeah, and they don't sub back there.
Yeah, they don't.
So if you get taken out, you're going to be watching.
Could Buford go on the bench and just keep Hartzog out there? I mean, that's another.
It's a possibility. Sean, it's a tremendous question that we just don't have a grasp on.
Because Ceyair's been.
Well, how would you know?
Ceyair's been better than anyone could have projected this quickly. I mean, you knew his recruiting ranking, top 100 guy, but he looks like that.
Yeah, and I think it took him a while to adapt. They've talked about that they always talk about, they put it in these terms. He had to adjust to the way we do things. And I think there was an adjustment period, and we didn't really know, but man, what you saw immediately from him against Illinois was, oh God, he can play. And then it wasn't just a one-time thing because then you saw the same thing against Purdue. Yeah, they got a player there.
All right, next question.
What is the health status of Bly Hill, and will we see him this year?
Well, he traveled, which tells you he's healthy. Bly is eligible to be a 4-game redshirt guy. I brought that up to Rule, and it got shot down pretty quickly. So I
asked him on Thursday, and Rule said no.
What's that?
No plans to redshirt him.
Really?
This past Thursday before
which I don't
Purdue.
Get that. He hasn't played yet.
Right.
And we're here going into game 6. So
and we're talking about a corner that kind of almost a log jam.
And he won a starting job basically in the spring before the injury.
God, it's good to have these conversations, though. Do you know how beautiful it is to have that kind of depth? I mean, just to even have that conversation is a gift from God. It really is.
Robin, he has not logged a snap on defense, correct? Blyhill.
Blyhill is not.
I don't believe so.
Ooh, maybe did he get in at all late in one of those games?
Yeah, well,
early?
you do the PFFs for defense, Robin. You don't remember seeing him on there, do you?
Not off the top of my head. No,
Just
on the
got-
spot.
Just
No.
got hammered, Robin.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's got it. And look, he had a pretty big injury. He's yet to play in a game this season, according to Huskers.com. So, next question.
Is Ed fully on the hot seat?
Look, I think anybody at a job like Nebraska is always on the hot seat. There's a huge microscope on you and what you do, especially when the stakes are high.
Yeah.
And I just think that's what comes when you come to a place like this. That's what comes with it.
Yeah.
And that's the politically
You get-
correct way to say it.
Yeah. When you get 2 kicks blocked, that contributes to it. I mean, if you just want to put it in simple terms, if he gets 2 kicks blocked again this week by a team that blocks a lot of kicks, what will the conversation be? Yeah, he's on the hot seat. I mean, then it would get real hot.
What did they see, though, in the offseason after Ortiz left that gave them the confidence that Camden, Watucky, and Flaggy, but it was mainly Watucky at that time,
Mhm.
were good enough to
I'll tell you what it
just
is.
transition?
I can answer this question, Sean. Kentucky had been strong last year as Ortiz's backup. I sit by the guy who coached him, Bill Bush. I mean, he knows Kentucky very well. The staff last year, even the previous year, was very confident with Kentucky. Rule, if you listen during spring and August, had a good spring, had a good August. There was no problems. Camden, Kentucky was their guy.
Mhm.
He was the guy that learned from Ortiz, and then he would just step into that role and it wouldn't be a problem. But then all of the sudden, there was a problem. You can liken it to Steve Sachs disease, or when Chuck Noblock started throwing the ball over first base on routine grounders. Something just went awry, and it
Yips.
happens. Humans, yeah, yips. Human beings. That happens in sports.
And we
So,
saw it with kick like Connor Culp. Remember him as a field goal
Oh, yeah.
kicker?
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good
He
comparison.
made like a 55-yarder at OU, but
and then what happened?
couldn't make like a 28-yarder.
Right. He just kind of lost. Now Connor Culp is a cautionary tale. He just lost it.
Mhm.
I mean, he just kind of lost it. Right.
I remember he lost his truck,
lost his truck.
but he didn't lose it. It was parked where he parked it. He just lost
He was
it.
having a rough time.
I mean,
He was having a rough time.
like
Sean.
you were at the Journal Star back then.
I was, and I was
and-
there when it all went down.
And the Lincoln police were like, there was no stolen truck.
Right.
It was where the truck was parked. I mean, so you're missing your kicks, then you pile up. I mean,
Yeah. No, I mean, he wasn't in any trouble.
no, but
He just thought his truck got stolen when it was in fact parked where he left it. It's happened to me.
and that happens. I mean, I knew a guy that you guys know that his wife reported their car stolen, and it was back in the parking lot where she parked it.
Right. It happened.
I mean, we left a truck running throughout an entire college football game in Rutgers. So
Hey,
For like
who are we to judge?
7 hours, I think.
I don't know how. There should have been someone that turned it off.
It should have been.
Yeah, blame the truck.
Wow. Dagger.
All right, next question.
Next one. Okay, who is your offensive and defensive MVPs? And if you pick Dylan,
Easy.
you also have to pick someone else on offense.
Well, Dylan Raiola, John Bullock. Any
Yep.
any objections?
No. And then if you have to pick someone other than Dylan, then it gets kind of tricky, right?
Probably Naor.
That'd be a good choice, or Banks or Barney.
Oh yeah, you're Bar. I'll go.
Yeah.
Bar. Let's go.
I don't know. Has Barney got the ball enough to be an MVP?
He hasn't even played 100 snaps on offense.
Right. I don't know that you could say I can't do that. I think he has that potential going forward. And at the end of the year, we might be saying that. It just right now, isn't it either Banks or Naor?
Yeah, I'd probably go Nair. I mean, just the fact that he's got so many touchdowns. I mean, like he's produced in the end zone as much as any player on their team, not named Dylan Raiola. So, but Barney has been by far the most exciting player, most electric player.
Ty Robinson, runner-up defense, or would you go?
Tough. I was looking at that last night on the message board, Sean. There's a pretty big gap on defense between John Bullock and number 2.
Well, Ty Robinson has 4 TFLs. Bullock has 5, but Ty Robinson has 11 tackles. Bullock has 29.
Right. You could probably make a case for Bayer. Not a great case. You could probably make a case. Well, you definitely make a case for Robinson
Yeah, I'd go Robinson,
second.
especially early in the year.
It's kind of a distant second.
He was
though.
disruptive earlier in the year.
All right, Abby. Final question.
Okay, with one of the top running backs in the country, Kyle Monaghy, coming in, which is the best running back that you have seen in Memorial Stadium?
I'm going to stick with opponents. I'm not going to. I mean,
Okay.
we've seen so many good Husker backs.
Okay.
But I like. I'll go with Adrian Peterson.
Ooh, good one.
In the 2005 game.
Okay.
Did he play in it was the 05 game, and he came back from injury. And I mean, he just trucked one of the Bullock brothers. I'll never forget that. It was Zach Taylor was playing. Dusty Dvorak was playing for Oklahoma, and it was windier. It was like 35 mile an hour south winds. I mean, it was one of the windier south winds you'll see, and it affected the throwing and affected the punting. And Adrian Peterson just was a monster.
24 carries for 146 yards, 2 TDs, long of 58, average of 6.1 per carry.
That's pretty good.
And a 31-24 Sooner victory.
Who else have we seen? I mean, we saw Barry Sanders here.
I didn't.
I did. I'd say Barry Sanders.
Rashawn Salam.
Yeah.
Heisman winner.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I would go Nebraska and say Lawrence Phillips. I don't think I saw a better back than Lawrence Phillips. Not for Nebraska. Now, would you say Lawrence Phillips is as good as Barry Sanders? No, probably not. Then Billy Sims. I can go back to Billy Sims for Oklahoma. Freak talent. I mean, just an absolute freak. So those are the guys that come to mind for me. And I'm missing guys, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Heisman winners, though. Ricky Williams has played at Memorial Stadium, and that they snapped.
He was a bear, too.
They snapped the streak, the winning streak.
Yeah.
Major Applewhite, Reggie.
Oh God, he was good.
That game in '98, that was a 9-3 type Texas team. That game helped him win the Heisman.
And he was ridiculous.
And they kept now Rashawn Salam, rest in peace. They kept him in check.
Under wraps. I don't put Salam in Williams category. I don't put him in Lawrence Phillips category.
Mm-mm.
I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, there's been 3 notable Heisman running backs that have played in Lincoln: Barry Sanders, Salam, and Ricky Williams. Those are the 3 Heisman winning running backs that we've seen play here, besides Mike Rozier, obviously, who played here in the 80s.
Thank you for mentioning Rozier, because Rozier, if you're going to say Phillips like I do, Rozier's right on his tails. I mean, I've always felt that Lawrence was just a notch ahead of Rozier. I saw them both. Didn't cover both. I covered Lawrence Phillips. I was just a kid when Rozier was running, but I just felt Phillips just a bit more size and power, and he had the whole package. He got strangely good at the end of his career because he gained so much size. When he caught here, he wasn't that big. By the time he left, big, strong, had the whole thing, and a great instinct.
What could have been.
All right, when we come back, we'll close the show with some thoughts on Big Ten games. You're listening here to the Husker Online Show. Final segment here of the Husker Online Show. Again, we're brought to you by StayHome.Care. Your home, our care. Get accessible and personalized in-person care in the comfort of your home, whether it's helping with daily tasks like cleaning, laundry, and meal preparation, providing companionship, offering medication reminders, or assisting with personal care and errands. We're here to make life easier, serving Lincoln, Omaha, and all of Nebraska. StayHome.Care is proud to announce that it has received the prestigious Top Home Healthcare Service Award for the 2nd year in a row, reaffirming its commitment to providing unparalleled care and support to individuals in the comfort of their own homes. Head to StayHome.Care to learn more. That's .care, not .com. Again, you can learn more at StayHome.Care or call 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart into everything we do. Your home, our care. StayHome.Care. All right, let's get into the Big Ten, because it was kind of a wild week in some respects. You had, I'll go through the scores here, guys, and we can all weigh in, but Indiana stays undefeated, 42-28. They beat Maryland. Indiana has had a beautiful schedule to build this thing. That's where that starts there. But Michigan hangs on to beat Minnesota 27-24. The Gophers recovered an onside kick. They ruled that it was offsides. There was no offsides.
Bad call. Yeah,
the Gophers changed the rules.
The Gophers, with an all Big Ten level kicker, we're going to have an opportunity to tie the game and go to overtime.
Wow. They got screwed. Sorry, that's
Big
screwed.
They got a nice apology, and now they changed the rules like mid-season.
Do you know what that means? Nothing. It means nothing to them.
I would rather not get the apology.
It means nothing. It's just an L. It's just an L that next season nobody's even thinking about how badly they got jobbed.
And PJ Fleck's got like the toughest schedule ever.
Yeah.
So USC comes back and rolls Wisconsin 38-21. Things are getting tight in Madison.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State 21-7 winners over Illinois. That was a 14-7 game late in the fourth. Ohio State 38-7 winners at night over Michigan State and East Lansing. Oregon beat UCLA 34-13. UCLA now 1-3, and then Rutgers 21-18 over Washington last week. Rutgers 4-0. Washington, a very competitive, good 3-2 right now. But where do you want to start, Sip? Any of these things? What jumped out to you last week?
What jumped out to me is USC. USC outscoring Wisconsin 28-0, I think, in the second half. That jumps out to me because I had watched USC against Michigan the previous week, and Michigan controlled the first half. And then when they came out after halftime, USC had made adjustments. Bam, they're in it. I mean, it was clear that Lincoln Riley did a great job in the halftime locker room. His staff, it's a new staff. And Deontin Lynn is a formidable defensive coordinator who will be a head coach in the next 2 years. Mark my word. They have a defensive coordinator who will be a head coach in the next 2 years. They really make halftime adjustments. They're a strong second half team.
Yeah, at halftime, you thought maybe Wisconsin wasn't as dead as people were thinking they were going to be, and then USC just flipped the switch. But the one that also jumped out to me was the fact that Illinois, I mean, they lost by 14, but what were they, 18-point dogs in that game? And they played Penn State down to the wire. Like, the score got away from them late, and they couldn't do much of anything in the second half especially. But I think they showed just they're a team that doesn't – I think the initial reaction when they beat Nebraska was that was a bad loss for Nebraska. I think that was
pretty good.
That was the loss against two top 25 teams.
Drew Aller only had 135 yards passing, no passing touchdowns.
Right. Aller, if you look at his stats from last year, he doesn't throw the ball down the field well at all. I mean, if you look at his yards per completion.
Like, I'm taking Dillon over him any day of the week.
Right now, I'm still I am too. Against, for instance, the best competition, Ohio State and Michigan, his numbers were horrible. He's okay. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but I don't know. See, if Penn State makes the playoff, which they probably will, they just seem like they might be an easy out.
A one and done.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what they look like right now.
Let's get into this week. Obviously, we got Nebraska, Rutgers here in Lincoln, but a lot of big spreads this week. Michigan State is a 24-point dog at Oregon. Wisconsin is a 14-point favorite in Madison over Purdue. Purdue fired their offensive coordinator. So Graham Harrell out, new OC in West Lafayette. UCLA is a 28-point dog in Happy Valley. That's an 11 a.m. game. So think about that for the Bruins.
Oh, it's really hard.
That's
welcome to the Big Ten. You're playing at 11 a.m. against, I'd say, the second most physical team.
That's a 9 a.m. game on their body clocks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's really hard.
And they're going to be stuck in some bad hotel because the accommodations in State College are rough for everybody.
It's just got to be really eye-opening for Deshaun Foster and those guys.
That trip into Happy Valley when you're coming from Westwood.
Oh God!
Brutal.
If it's not eye-opening yet, it will be eye-opening on Friday when they get there.
Yeah,
it will be.
And they've been housed 3 straight weeks in a row. Like, morale is already low.
Ooh,
And now they're making that.
I love State College for the record. It's a great. Robin and I have had some great.
Once you're there, it's awesome.
But getting there and finding a bed to sleep in, I mean, it's not easy.
Now I used to, in my previous employer, we would stay in Harrisburg and make the drive.
Yeah, that's a terrible drive after the game,
especially if it's a night game.
Yeah, especially when it's snowing.
Yes, snowing at night.
Indiana,
Parker, God bless you.
Indiana's a 13.5-point road favorite over Northwestern. That's one to watch.
Yeah.
Can they win?
Yeah, it is,
and handle the expectations.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Iowa, a 19.5-point dog at Ohio State. Ohio State's played nobody to this point. This will be by far the toughest test Ohio State's had.
Okay.
And then obviously Michigan is at Washington. Washington is a 2-point favorite over the Wolverines.
Wow.
And then USC is an 8.5-point favorite over the Gophers in Minneapolis.
Whoa. This is getting, this new Big Ten, this newly configured Big Ten is fascinating. USC's going to play in Minneapolis. That won't be an easy game for USC.
They're lucky it's on October 1st.
Yeah, I know.
Or
Didn't
early
get
October.
Didn't get a mid-November trip up there.
Right. They'll probably hit some good weather and they'll be probably fine. USC is an interesting team to me. They'll be very difficult for teams because they're so fast on offense. They got a good quarterback. They're still not very physical on defense, though. I mean, they're better. They fly around. Downtown DeAnton Lynn is, again, the defensive coordinator. They are organized, but they're still not very physical. So I don't know if they're going to be able to hold up as they march forward.
All right. Well, we will have a full week of coverage here on Husker Online, full post-game coverage, obviously, of Nebraska, Rutgers. Husker Online post-game live. It's a 3:00 game. Probably will be a 3-hour game, if I had to guess. Our goal is ideally to be on between 8 and 9 p.m. We'll be on in that range. Probably 8:30 sounds right. So,
about right.
A lot of it's contingent on the game and how it plays out.
8:30 would be nice.
8:30 hopefully is our goal to join you for Husker Online post-game live. Many have joined us every game. It's one of the most popular things we do. So we hope to hear you and see you as well on our Husker Online post-game live show. For Steve Sipple, Abby Barmore, Robin Washett, I'm Sean Callahan.